Hi, my name is Ksenia. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am an author of fiction, a mixed media artist, former television journalist, and this channel has existed for a long time, but it was a channel where I would post videos of either me being interviewed or me interviewing people. It also features a short film that I produced and wrote several years ago, but I've never before done a talking head video in English. So I have to admit I'm feeling a little nervous because it's hard to maintain a natural tone without having a person on the other side asking me questions and having a conversation with. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Anyway, the reason why I have decided to record a few of these is that as somebody who has spent her entire adult life in the arts and culture, I find that I have a hard time finding like-minded people to talk to and connect with. I have been a member when it just comes to books. Now, to forsake the other stuff, when it comes to books, I have been a member of book clubs, both in person when I lived in Paris and online. I have been a member of various readers and authors groups online. And I have noticed that no matter how much I recommend membership in these groups and clubs to my friends and people I know offline, they struggle to feel like they belong in any of them. And they tend to come to me, which is a great honor for me, obviously, but they tend to come to me to talk about these topics. They feel like they are torn between a type of culture, reading, art, theater culture that is too commercial, and another type that is too pretentious and where they end up feeling like they don't belong, or leaving a play, putting down a book that was recommended to them, asking themselves whether they're stupid and they didn't understand something, or this book or play was really not that good. That happens much more than you would think. I don't know if you have this experience. Please tell me about it in the comments, but I definitely do. I feel that a lot of people do art for themselves and their peers, to impress critics and peers, and they don't care about the audience. So it's either that or it's super commercial and with very little actual value. Now, I think a perfect time to talk about reading goals is now, because we are in the third week of January at the time of this recording, and many people have set reading goals for the year. They are now in the third week of the first month, and many of them are already falling behind, which happens because the goal was not set correctly. Now, this is not a coaching video. I'm not going to bother you with SMART goals and how your goal should be specific and time related, etc., etc. This is not what it's about. I want to actually tell you about how I set my reading goal and why I do that. Why my reading goal is precisely 52 books a year, no more, no less. And I want to start with the obvious, which is why not less than 52? I feel that reading one book a week is the perfect average for me. Obviously, that can change a little bit, because if books are short, or I can read more than one, and if a book is very, very long, I can take more than a week, but then it pretty much balances out and comes to 52. Now, if it's 50, I'm fine, but I try to make it 52 and never less than 50, that's for sure. I feel that one book a week is the perfect way to keep my blade sharp, not just as a writer, but also as a reader, and to nurture my inner world with enough of a variety of stories, of perspectives, of voices, of experiences to feel that it's a wealthy, well nurtured, well fed, well nourished inner world, which is what I need to feel like I'm living a meaningful life. Um, Also, no less than 52, because the tempo of reading one book a week keeps me feeling that I'm accomplishing a worthwhile reading goal, that I'm doing well, that I'm right on track, that I'm good to go. And so it's one less thing to stress about in a stressful life. Now, that said, please, if you feel that 52 books is too much for you, that does not make you a not worthwhile reader. I often talk to people who didn't read a single book the year before, or they barely read one, and then they feel bad because they read 10 books this year. That is 10 books more than you read the year before, and 10 books more than somebody who doesn't read at all, even though I'm not very much in favor of comparing how we read with how other people read. You do you. So if one book a month is what you can accomplish, there's nothing wrong with that. If one book a year is what you can accomplish, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about um, once you do develop the reading muscle, and it's a muscle that gets developed, it gets worked out like you work out your body in the gym, you work out your reading muscle. So once you work it out, you develop it, and you get to a point where you can read as much as you want. It is then that I feel that 52 books a year is an ideal number. Uh, One little side note before I continue: when I talk about reading goals and 52 books a year, in my case, I'm talking strictly fiction. I do not track my nonfiction reads, especially if they are how to reads, if they are books about a certain topic that you want to learn about, because I rarely read those cover to cover. I will usually take what I need out of it, what I'm interested in, and I will move on with my life. If it's a biography, it's a different thing, but to be quite honest, I rarely read biographies. It's just not my thing. So that said, I track fiction. If you track everything, that's also perfectly fine. 52 books is 52 books. But as an author of fiction, as a novelist, I want to read 52 books a year. That's what keeps me in shape, and that's what makes me feel like I'm in the right place. Now, the more insidious story is, why not more than 52 to 60 in my case? Um, I didn't think this was even an issue until last year. I joined the 52 book challenge, and I will talk about it in depth in another video, whether I believe it's worth it, what I like about it, what I don't. But if you've never heard about it, there is this challenge, 52 books in 52 weeks. You can find it. They have their own website. They are affiliated with Goodreads, which is, if you're new to this world, it's a social media network for readers, where people post what they read and whether they liked it, and they post reviews. And so you have 52 prompts that you're supposed to fulfill when reading that year, and every year the prompts change, and people are free to interpret them as strictly or as loosely as they want. And there is obviously a Facebook group, a huge community of tens of thousands of people, where they post what they're reading and how far along they are in the challenge. And I thought that the main issue I was going to see in that group was going to be people complaining because they weren't able to meet the reading goals and to keep up with the challenge. But that was actually very rare, because although there are many, and probably most people in the challenge don't manage to keep up, I think they don't dare to speak up publicly, because there are many, many, many more people who are reading 365 books a year, 1,000 books a year, people who, or claim to be reading, and who post that they are done with the challenge by week 3 of January. I am not sure that that's how I would want to approach the challenge. I remember the first person who posted that she finished by week 3 of January. I asked her how could you have read 52 books in 20 days? And she said, well, I had started many books in December and then left them just to finish the last pages, or the previous year, and left a few pages unfinished so I could finish them in January and count them toward my reading goal. To which I said, oh, okay, that's not the point to me, but if it is to you, that's okay. And they were also reading loads of children's books and very short books to fulfill the reading goal as quickly as possible. To which I said, I don't think this is the group for you. Here it's 52 books in 52 weeks, but you do you. That's perfectly fine. Now, as an author, and somebody who studied literature in college, I have a degree in English and Spanish lit. I'm not a fan of speed reading. People say that when I ask people, how do you read? They claim to read 3 to 4 full-length novels a day. And I would ask them, how do you do that? And they would tell me that they listen to audiobooks at double speed while working. I'm an avid audiobook listener, and I love them because they allow me to listen to books while walking, exercising, driving, doing chores, cooking, which I hate, or ironing, which I triple hate. And they allow me to listen to a book while painting, which I love to do. But listening at double speed makes it pretty difficult to follow a book in a deep way. I am not negating that there are people who can listen at double speed and understand and retain the story, but I think that reading at least good fiction requires us to understand a bit of the nuance, a bit of what's being said between the lines. And I don't think that can be done at double speed while doing a job. It's as a writer, I know how much thought, how much concern goes into every sentence I write, into every character I construct. And the idea that somebody will plow through that in 2 hours or 3 hours is something that makes me a little sad, because I don't think an author ever dreams of a reader that doesn't take a little bit of time to really live with their story and their characters and their inner conflicts and everything that this book entails. I think that we always dream of a careful reader who wants to understand everything very well. But again, if you're somebody who reads 1,000 books a year, all the power to you. You do you. It's just not what I think is an ideal way of reading at least serious fiction, which doesn't mean, just to be clear, I'm not claiming that I never read a book in one sitting, or that many books in one sitting, that I have not even called sick a couple of times because I couldn't put a book down, or that I have not stayed up all night. What I'm claiming is that I couldn't do it every day, all day. And to go back to why not more than 52 books, 50 to 60 books, there's also the fact that I really care about all the other aspects of my life, which include work, which include obviously my children, my husband, my family, my social life, my other interests, my art. And I believe that 52 makes for the perfect balance between being a dedicated reader and being somebody who has a rich life beyond reading. So, what I would like you to take away from this video is that reading is not a race. If you want to make it a race online or in your life, and if that's going to push you to read more, and if that's something that makes you feel good, sure, why not? But if you're part of the majority and the wide majority actually struggles to meet big reading goals and feels intimidated by huge reading goals, then it's perfectly okay to have a goal that's uh, fitting to your lifestyle, to your abilities, to where your reading muscle is right now, and then eventually build up from there. If you stuck with me until now, thank you so much. Please click like, click subscribe, because I'm new and we need to tell the algorithm that somebody else might enjoy this content. And if you want to support me, a great way is to buy my book, which is Father Before Sons by Ksenia Popovich. You can find it anywhere online. Thank you for listening and see you next time.